everybody, and welcome to this AI Roundtable, a podcast by Commodity Technology Advisory hosted on CTRMCenter.com and etdcenter.net. My name is Irina Reitgruber, and I will discuss real-life AI use cases with a group of experts today. We will talk about most popular AI applications, but also about risk and concerns around AI. And now we start with a round of introductions. And so I would like my guests to introduce themselves. Let's start with Karan, please.
Thanks, Irina. Happy to be here. My name is Karan Mundhayan. I'm the co-founder of Commverse, where we are building Cogito AI, an AI native platform designed specifically for commodity trading operations. So I think this is exactly where our expertise lies and where we intend to be. Our focus is twofold, specifically around automating manual workflows and creating something called interconnected intelligence, the two areas where I believe AI is going to really transform CTRM operations. And yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Amir?
Thanks for having me. Amir Soufizadeh. I'm one of the directors at OrbicTrade. Similar to Karan, we also have AI platform currently used with some of the global trading houses, where we kind of focused around front office, around deal negotiation and trade capture. And I tell you a bit more about it and some of the use cases.
Thank you. And Richard?
Hi, I'm Richard Williamson, the CEO of Gen10. We've been providing commodity supply chain and risk solutions for the last 25 years. And this whole new world of AI has helped us realize a lot of dreams and aspirations that we've had over the years. Very exciting times.
Thank you. ComTech Advisor is doing the study on use of AI and energy and commodity businesses. And it turns out the most popular AI use cases are around process automation, around natural language reporting or natural language communication with applications and general market intelligence. So the first question I would like to discuss with you is around real life use cases, meaning how customers are viewing your offering. All these three companies which now are engaged in applying AI for different business areas. And I would like to discuss not only the benefits, but also the risks customers see in what you are offering to them. So I would like to ask first Karan, and then we will continue with other use cases. Please describe what customers really are ready to accept from what you offer, maybe something which is already in production, maybe something which they're in final stage of testing, and what risks customers see when you're talking with them.
Thanks, Irina. I think that's a really important question, and one I'm glad came up on a panel like this, because we can be very candid on this kind of panel, because there really is a difference on what the promise is versus what is actually being adopted in the industry as of now, right? There is a meaningful gap. And to address what is the first part of the question, where you ask about where the use cases currently lie, I think the pack is being led by majorly the post-trade and operations layer in the CTRM industry, at least. The document intelligence, reading contracts, bills of lading, invoices, and pushing this kind of structured data into the CTRM, the legacy CTRM systems. This is furthest along specifically because these manual workflows and paperwork actually still account for a large budget in the industry currently, right? So the ROI specifically is immediately measurable. You do get return for your buck immediately, and that's something very pivotal, I would say, in any new technology adoption. Apart from that, I think moving up the value chain, contract obligation tracking, P&L explainability, pre-trade intelligence of with the market news built in, aggregation of various data around around various systems, which could be fragmented, and making sense of it is specifically moving towards very meaningful early adoption. specifically because the data volumes in this industry is high. And what I am seeing is around the agricultural and metal markets, where the complexity is higher on the data side is where we are seeing this adoption being higher. Apart from that, I think what we are looking towards is also unstructured data now being made structurally valuable to the CTRM systems. That is also something that is being adopted very, very quickly. So when you look at what we cover, it's not a small slice of the overall trading operations. The teams do a lot of this on a day-to-day basis. So overall, if you look at a potential for AI to transform the way the CTRM businesses are currently operating, is very much, I would say, a present opportunity and not something in the future, right? So use cases definitely are there. On benefits, I mean, I think benefits have been talked about quite a bit. They do come with the benefits of course, speed and cost. You may have teams working in the background, and they still cannot match the speed and cost at which these systems can operate, right? The decision quality is something that we are definitely going to see as a major benefit, freeing of risk managers, operations managers, and so on and so forth, of all these manual operational tasks, and giving them the visibility that they need to take quick decisions is something that is going to be a major benefit out of these AI transformation journeys, right?
What about the risks?
Yeah. So coming to risks and mitigation, I think one of the areas that definitely needs to be talked about. And I would start with hallucination. The AI hallucination is a known devil. It does seem to be dangerous because when AI makes mistakes, it doesn't look guilty. It looks more and more confident. So it's definitely one of the biggest risks. Then I would possibly say model and data risk, where the models that need to be trained are using data, um, in a way that companies are not comfortable with. So that definitely is another risk. And overall accountability, right? So if an AI agent updates a trade record, who owns that, right? Those kind of questions are something that are risky, right? Mitigation, on the other hand, is not something that we haven't seen with other technology adoptions in the past. I would say threefold in the sense, one, of course, the human in the loop approvals. And anytime some sensitive data like positions or money is being touched upon, there really needs to be a review process. The other being very robust audit trails and accountability being put on the processes, and the AI systems themselves, not the generic AI systems. The trading AI systems, I don't count into the same bracket as generic AI systems. But yeah, good and robust audit trails of every decision, making every decision traceable is another mitigation step. And a very simple deployment rule: wherever AI is involved, AI should draft, humans should approve. And that's the key to any adoption early on for AI workflows.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Richard, what would you like to add from your side?
Yeah, thanks, Irina. So what, I mean, there's quite a lot going on, right? But let's start with, for example, moving from dashboard-driven CTRM to a chat-driven CTRM. So rather than having to learn which screens you have to open to get the answers that you need and filtering grids, etc., etc., the dream was to provide the trader or the operator a chat interface where they can ask any questions that they want of the data, to be able to visualize and create dashboards on the fly, to be able to trigger agents that might create a new deal based on the last terms and conditions, but with a new price, being able to automate when I say automate the approval process, to digitize the approval passing on between the different people involved. And so it starts with a chat-driven CTRM. And then behind that, you've got different agentic mini apps, let's say. So you're inside your CTRM and you need to compare your contracts, or you're inside your CTRM and you need to compare your shipping documents against the letter of credit and maybe your credit limits, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess the benefit that you have by having it integrated into the place of work. I mean, there are some great point solutions out there, and they do a great job for people. The problem that they're not addressing is they're going, or let me say, they're going down that route because maybe the underlying data is in lots of different silos, and so they need a point solution to help with one particular task. But that can only get you so far. And it prevents people addressing the underlying need, which is to organize your data, get the data in a state that the AI can understand, because the AI is only ever going to be as good as the data that it has access to and that it can understand and have the context around. So by bringing it all together in an integrated CTRM system, it's where the people are doing their day job. They've got additional AI support. All of the access control is there. You're not having to duplicate access control and security issues. And you have that whole audit trail together. So there are a whole list of different use cases from front, middle to back office. But the real thing is having an AI agentic assistant that understands your data and can connect to the outside world to give you that wider context.
We will talk about chat-driven CTRM later on in this discussion, but I would like to understand, are businesses in general ready to adopt such CTRM? Would they trust to chat-driven CTRM?
Well, it can only earn its trust, and that's by using it. And of course, it's tested very robustly with ourselves and with our clients that have been piloting it. It's now in production and ready to use. And in fact, we just launched on Monday the real release, but it's already been in production for a month or so.
The customer
you can only earn trust.
Internally. So is any customer already with this release? Yeah, that's great. Interesting experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy, and I mean, I say the chat-driven thing. I mean, that's the asking it to do things in a conversational manner, being able to keep a record of things that people have been asking to do. But I mean, there will be, I guess, further on in this session, we'll be talking about the governance layers and cost controls and stuff. So I might leave that for later. But you do have to design your agents well, and you do need to put the guardrails in to make sure that the information is accurate. And if I have my contract comparison or my contract intelligence part where I'm comparing to my contract that I've created against the counterparty's contract or someone else's general terms and conditions or something, it will come and do the extraction, turn that unstructured data like Karan was talking about into structured stuff that you can analyze and query. But in terms of legal advice, it will always show the two clauses. It's not translating, it's not hallucinating the clauses on those two contracts. It might give some sort of an opinion. And then it's really down to the end users to craft those agents so that it's focusing on the things that are important to them. But it's important to go have that link back to the source of the information so that you have that human verification as part of the process. But it saves a lot of time, and it means that because it saves so much time, there are things that people don't do today because it takes too much time. Now they can.
Okay, great, thank you. And now, Amir, what do you want to add to this discussion?
All very valid points. I think I don't have anything to object to anything that has been said. They're all very much valid. If back to your question, I think, Irina, do the people trust AI and do they use it? Certainly, I think we moved past that kind of experiment phase. The way we see it, that probably the three areas where organizations are genuinely deploying AI today. And if I kind of group them in three areas, probably the first one would be that workflow automation that Karan talked about. It's probably the most mature use case. Firms are using AI to process emails, contracts, BLs, and confirmations and whatnot from documentation point of view, extracting information that probably previously was very much manual before. Much faster, fewer human errors. I think the risk, back to your point, what's the risk there is that incorrect interpretation of it. And therefore, that's why the human still needs to be involved and validate and review what AI does as part of that business rule. The second area probably is kind of that market intelligence and knowledge management side probably is very much in use as well, is being deployed, is summarizing everything around research and market data and kind of retrieving information from lots of various different internal historical data. Is very much in use and is much faster and better than compared to the historical, traditional tools. Is facilitated decision making, is improve the efficiency and therefore revenue optimization in many cases. I think the risk there probably is, as everybody talks about, is underlying data. So it's really important for AI to kind of call out where those information are originated. And that's the area probably still organization work towards to make sure what AI is spitting out is using that single true source. So therefore, the output is kind of valuable and reliable. The other area, I think the third area probably that's where we focused on in OrbicTrade is that front office deal capture and kind of deal intelligence. And that's the area that also in production and people are using. We all know traders historically spend surprising amount of time, hours a day, to essentially read emails, negotiate terms, update the spreadsheet, manually enter the trades into the CTRMs. Now AI does that for them. So it kind of intent is to directly go look into your emails and chats and broker feeds and whatever that might be, and then convert that information into a kind of a structured data, as everyone talked about earlier, and prepare it for downstream processing. I think that's the third area which is very much in use. And benefit isn't just efficiency, is obviously it would help with a better data quality, definitely faster trade capture. Some of these term deals are very complicated to book. If you talk about a calendar deal, I don't know, that copper concentrate was taking 20, 30 minutes. Now that it's done in seconds. And then people genuinely do more value add work rather than essentially doing admin work. And just, I think Richard mentioned that as one of the biggest risks there is that you don't want AI to become kind of uncontrolled decision maker, right? So the AI should assist, but not approve. So that human intervention and kind of reviewing what AI is doing and do the final trade approval is a necessity. And we all know all of the trading houses have compliance to very much want that, who booked that deal. It would never be AI.
Okay.
That's pretty much.
Okay, thank you. The next question I would like to discuss is a kind of risk which appeared recently and is related to AI costs. So recently, the leading producers of a large language model changed their pricing strategy from fixed fees to token-based costs. And it seems to be like they had a kind of promotional costs or promotional prices before, and now we observe the real cost of AI. And some of companies, not necessarily energy or commodity companies, but for example, Uber, burned the whole budget of 2026 in the first 4 months. Other companies were telling me the story like, if you have some financial limits on the tokens you have, you use these limits in the first few days of the month and things like that. So the costs of AI seem to become a real risk and real problem. And the question about it, first, how to control this? And maybe the most interesting question is how these costs will impact the future proliferation of AI. Would companies limit their AI usage in order to reduce the costs, or they would apply AI only to some selected use cases? So how do you see the situation with the cost going further? And this time, my first question would be to Richard.
Okay. Okay, great. Cost management is a big thing. You know, we've gone from seeing how AI can help and see what it can do for us, and it might take a while before you say, oh, actually, now we have to worry about the costs. But it's like with any technology, you can apply it well or you can apply it not so well. Is the first thing. So around Uber or Walmart is another example that's out there in the news. That you know, it's you need an orchestration layer as part of your AI strategy, and it's around how you design your agents and how you can cap the token usage and how you can get visibility on your usage and be able to see which agents. You know, is it the contract comparison that's burning up? Is it burning up too many tokens? Is it still value for money based on, do you still get a return on that investment? Do we need to lower the cap? Do we need to use can we use a lower level or a cheaper LLM and achieve the same kind of quality results? All of these things. So, you know, if the question is how do you control the costs? You know, it's around that. It's around getting the visibility on it first of all, and then it's around making sure that your orchestration layer, like our conductor AI platform, how you structure those agents, how do you optimize them, how do you keep reviewing to see is there any way we can use fewer tokens to achieve the same results, those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, you can still implement things in a cost inefficient way. And produce poorer results as well. So I mean, yes, it's still all very new. What the last year really that tangible things have been coming out of this. You know, Walmart, for example, their issue was they burnt up all of their stuff on putting AI on their business intelligence layer, on their data lake, and the customer experience was inferior to how it used to be, and the costs were astronomical. You know, and the reason was, you know, if they'd have applied their AI to their operating system, where people are doing the e-commerce and everything, that would have helped the customer experience. But it was doing it in another silo of data, and giving all of the lags, having to go through reams and reams of data, all that kind of stuff. So it's a very powerful tool, and in Spider-Man language, such power brings great responsibility.
Okay, thank you. Amir, what is your view?
I think this is one of the most practical conversation I think right now around AI. If you look back, I don't know, a year ago or 2 years ago, most discussions were focused around capability, what AI can do. Today, many organizations are asking, you know, just Richard said, what, you know, very different question. How do we make AI economically sustainable at the scale? You know, many organizations ran pilots and relatively small user groups or limited data or you know, volume of data. And once you start processing thousands of documents and emails and conversation and, you know, and relying on the premium models for every interaction, that's when it gets expensive. And I think, you know, just it was pointed, you know, I don't think the issue is lack of transparency really. It's a challenge around the organization didn't fully understand where they're going with AI. You know, now that they put it out there at the enterprise level, they realize how quickly usage could outgrow the AI benefits out there really. Then, you know, back to your points, how do they manage it at the moment? And it's early days, but you know, there are several ways that kind of they started looking into it. To call out some maybe, one is that not every task requires most powerful, expensive models. So there's lots of conversation around that. They used to have an LLM or two that were enterprise approved and being used. Now they're going into look into different models for different purposes. And you know, a simple extraction or a workflow task could be handled probably with much cheaper LLM. And then you keep the premium models for more complex reasoning type of things. The second thing is organizations are doing is to focus on business outcomes rather than the AI usage. So the goal shouldn't be how do we maximize our AI interaction. It should be around how do we maximize value. And if the AI process is, you know, back to OrbicTrade to save a trader or analyst a few hours a day, then the cost needs to be measured against that business benefit. That way, how you control the costs and which model to use. And lastly, but back to the technology aspect, I think it's quite important. It's probably that architecture matters. So the good AI solution shouldn't unnecessarily call upon that LLM for everything, right? So you should use the structured data where possible, avoid sending the same information repeatedly to the model. And that's where you save quite a lot of cost, and you get the best out of your basically architecture. And that's one of the things that kind of we've done, and it's kind of use AI as a kind of a productivity engine, rather than essentially everything is going through that model. So we interact with that AI for specific activities, and we use the data, available data, structured data for other stuff, and that would reduce your consumption cost, which obviously is quite big at the moment.
Okay. Thank you. And Karan, what would you like to add?
I think fair answers there from Richard and Amir. I think does cover most of how to kind of control the cost for AI. I would just possibly want to point out why these things have possibly happened. See, AI is not priced like enterprise software. There's no flat license fee and you're done, or a monthly kind of subscription is not what AI models depend on. They're priced on tokens, and tokens, even there, I think how it keeps shifting is how much does the input tokens cost versus output versus reasoning tokens, and so on and so forth. So it's the early adoption of a new pricing model that people are struggling with. Once the visibility comes in and predictability is created, like I think Amir pointed out, through actually measuring outcomes and pricing outcomes rather than pricing based on tokens. And that's where, like I said earlier, I differentiate between your Gen LLMs and trading systems that are going to adopt AI. We need to differentiate that way. And right sizing the model, we are doing something very, very similar to what Amir was pointing out, where we're using open source LLMs to actually extract data. And when it comes to reasoning, yes, you need better, more reasoning friendly models, and those are areas that substantially cut costs. The framework itself, or the architecture of the product itself that you build, is extremely, extremely important to cut unnecessary costs on LLMs and to increase the accuracy of the system itself. Because at the end of the day, Gen LLMs are not reasoning systems. They are they really are probabilistic systems, right? The data still needs to come from CTRMs or one of the legacy ERPs, right? So that accuracy is maintained and cost can be controlled as well.
Thank you. And now we come to the last question I would like to discuss today. We already started to talk about natural language as a way to communicate with the software solution. It is clear benefits. You don't need complicated training. You are used to do this in private life, maybe with ChatGPT, and you continue doing this on the job. It's all very attractive, especially for young people. But there is one concern about it. From experience, talking, for example, with ChatGPT and asking questions, first answer you get is something you don't like. Then you start to rephrase it. You start to put your question in other way. You start to criticize the answer, saying it's not quite exact and so on. And after a few iterations, you suddenly get what you really expect. How does this work with software solution? Is this the same iteration process, or you can manage it more efficiently? And the first question is to Amir, especially as you are doing this with a kind of legal language, which is especially complicated. You are helping negotiation of complex physical deals. How do you deal with this problem?
I think this is one of the most important questions I think industry needs to address, especially in our industry. But before that, I think when people hear about natural language and AI, they often imagine a trader having a conversation with the system and system simply execute whatever he thinks was requested. I think in a trading environment, that would be extremely dangerous. we shouldn't have AI replace controls. I think from a kind of natural language point of view, you should simplify that user experience, maintain it, and in many cases improve that governance aspect. So in reality, each trader would actually communicate in language, right? So just like they do today, you know, they do it through emails, chats, phone calls, you know, all sorts of platforms. Then the information is kind of manually interpreted and entered into the system. That's like, it's been like that for many, many years. Introduces human errors, delays, inconsistency, just like what you explained, Irina, around natural language and what do we make sure that it doesn't make mistakes, right? So, you know, what AI allows to do, as a matter of fact, is transform it in a structure validated trade if you got the right business rule layer governing that kind of natural language model. And that's what we've done in OrbicTrade precisely. So it cannot kind of second guess what he heard or what is used. It essentially goes back to the framework of what are the potential things that he would have done. We call that kind of a validation layer. So let's say, a trader comes and say, buy 25,000 tons of copper concentrate from, supplier X, Q4 delivery. The AI wouldn't necessarily go and simply create that trade, back to your point, because it might have misheard something or it might have, misinterpreted something. Instead, it would extract the information, structure it, identify the missing fields, apply the business rule or validation layer that I talked about, and present the proposed trade back for confirmation to the trader. And that's how the natural language at the moment is in production, because it would eliminate the chance of AI making the mistake. It would put the boundaries of what AI could do with that natural language. And maybe think of it as a less of a autonomous trading, is more of a kind of intelligent co-pilot sitting next to the trader doing the job, just like, some people doing that deal capture aspect. Mm-hmm. The other misconception I would say is that with that natural language aspect is that like the LLMs are system of record, but they shouldn't be, right? So I think CTRM, the risk platforms, the ERPs remains the system of record. The AI on that natural language and capability would act as an intelligent front end layer, helps users to interact, I think, with those systems naturally. So that governance would eliminate the mistakes, right? To mitigate the misunderstanding, the number of controls you could, I think, put in place. Obviously, what we talked about, one is that human approval before committing transaction, and most compliance functions in the trading organization wants that as part of trader status process. Another thing we've done in OrbicTrade is that confidence scoring, we call, where the system would highlight what he heard, and the areas that he's less certain about. So we give the score to it. So the user could go and validate them that he got it right. What we call that, the structure validation against master data. Then you got all those approval processing, and that eliminate the risk there. Another thing there is that full audit trail, right? So it's showing exactly what was requested, what was interpreted, and what was ultimately approved. So that trial from the very first information going into the system through the natural language through to when the trade is captured or booked. I'm talking about OrbicTrade specifically, but that's the kind of genuine use case, is all essentially there and can be audited and measured and improved over time. Mm-hmm. And it gives you that kind of clear segregation between information and transaction execution. I think one of the interesting things that many firms already accept is that manual interpretation. Because if you think about it, the traders still do things through emails and phone conversations. And we all know in many cases are inconsistent and impossible to audit properly and trade typos and whatnot. And AI could actually reduce all those operational risks because every transaction becomes traceable, repeatable, and governed in many ways.
So you are saying that AI is even better in capturing all this information than the people when they do something on telephone and capture later on?
Yeah, so basically, I don't think future of AI is replacing the traders or replacing the CTRMs in any form or shape. The future is the traders communicating in natural language AI translating that intent into a structured business data, and existing control would ensure that only validated and approved transaction would go into the trading ecosystem.
Okay, so this is clear from the trade enter perspective. Karan, you were talking about automation. Do you also face this kind of problems in your solution?
Yes. So let me put it this way. So there are two things that we are focusing on, like I said at the beginning, right? One is automation of workflows. And again, like Amir was pointing out, there is a way that we have built. There is a governance layer, and it's almost like a self-governance layer uh, done by AI itself, where one LLM kind of reasons, the other validates, right? Along with the human in the loop. And wherever required, there is a lot of deterministic rules, formulas in place, right, for achieving workflows. For example, we do have a very similar agent called Deal to Trade, where once the trade confirmation or broker confirmation comes in, the system doesn't just extract the information, it compares it to your historical data, your metadata, validates and reasons, how to kind of fill in the rest of the data so that the CTRM trade, the CTRM system can actually make sense of it, right? And of course, there is a human in the loop at the end as well, where once validation and is kind of done, validation, extraction, enrichment layers are kind of completed, human comes in and he approves or reviews the trades as well, which again is linked to your CTRM data, right? So you're nowhere deviating from the accuracy of the data, right? So in workflows, there's definitely governance already built in. These are what we called workflow agents. Then there is a separate set of agents, like I said, interconnected intelligence, where this becomes much more important, right? Because those agents that we have are almost talking to your ChatGPT, for example, but it does need still to be accurate, right? So what we are doing there is introducing always the system will come back with a plan, and once you kind of review, approve the plan, and it will give you its reasoning for the plan as well, so that you are able to kind of understand the reasoning that the system is doing. Once you review the plan and approve or make changes as well, it's completely up to you. Make changes, approve the plan is when the system starts taking action and gives you back its analysis, right? But definitely something which is required, I think we keep coming back to it, that the AI really interprets, but the answers are always hidden in facts that are driven by data, right? Whether it be CTRM, ERP systems, or any of the logistic systems, or even say market data systems, and so on and so forth, right? So it always comes back to that. The translation wise, AI can do an excellent job. Interpretation wise, it can do an excellent job. But it will always come back to the fact that the actual data will need to be in a structured database, and wherein I think the overall accuracy needs to be targeted, right? The governance layer, like auditability part of it, is something that I think everyone's building for. We also have something called reliability metrics that we give with every agent that we give, where the user is very is easily able to see how the accuracy of the systems have been, or specific agents have been, and how reliable they are. And only when it reaches a specific reliability threshold is when we advise the users to actually go live with it, right? Until then, we train it, and because it's AI, right? You train it hundreds of times in an hour, and the turnaround time is not as long as it would be for traditional systems. But you train it, make it reliable, and then go live, and all of that is visible to you on your screens. So
And
that's
this
another
training,
feature.
is this training done by users, or it's done by your company before you offer the software to the users?
Yeah, it's part of the implementation cycle, Irina.
Implementation. Okay, thank you. And Richard, finally, so recently you have issued the chat-driven CTRM system. How do you deal with this kind of issues?
Yeah, so I mean, there's two main bits. I mean, it's about what the question is about prompting and how you design your prompts and how you phrase your questions. And the other part is the semantic layer or the contextual layer, which is what I was saying before about, AI being able to understand the data, not just know what the number is, but to understand that number in the context of everything else that you're doing in your operations, front, middle, back office. Now, the system needs to be, well, let me do it by example. So you can ask it, hey, Nanny, what's my position? What is a position, right? So she's going to say, well, I'm going to need more information. Are we talking your physical position? Are we talking your market exposure? Are we talking your stock position, my cash position? So she'll come back and she'll ask you so that she can understand she helps you be more precise with what you're actually, what you want to know, but what you actually say can be different. So she helps you with that. It's kind of a wizard sort of format, right? But then, so that helps there. But the other part to consider is about structured prompts. There are questions. After a week or so, most of the questions that you're asking of your commodity business have been asked. So rather than typing in your free text, again, it becomes more pick from a list of stored prompts, right? Here are some frequently asked questions, for example. So it's more a case of you clicking on that button and that stored prompt has already got the guardrails around it. It knows when you're talking position, what you really mean, what the intent is behind it. So it will go and answer it. So structuring those prompts comes back to button pressing rather than natural language. I get it, but both work. They complement each other. So I might get a stored prompt to give me my inventory position around the world, and it will give me that and a nice graph, etc. But then I can ask it, oh, well, break down the Netherlands inventory by grade, and that's just a cent. That's your free text, natural language stuff. And, she's already got the context and she knows what you're talking about and it comes back. It's really cool. But, it's around that structuring the prompts. It's around maybe triggering code behind it rather than burning up AI tokens as well. I mean, that's all part of the optimization part aspect of it, which, as you go through your AI strategy and implementation journey, you will find that these things are all really important. There is a time when an agent can go and do all of its AI magic to come back with a number, but it's not as efficient as that going and triggering a piece of code that it understands and come back with a deterministic as opposed to a probabilistic answer for you. But it's only possible because you've got that semantic layer of your CTRM with that integrated AI capability.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very interesting. We are coming to the end of our discussion, and I would like to ask you to give just last very short final statement on how do you see the future of AI in energy business. I really believe that we are living in very exciting times where we see technological revolution coming into the software solutions. And so maybe Richard, you continue, please, your very short final statement.
Yeah, it is very exciting. It gives an ability to look back, take a step back and see what is the overall objective, the problem that you're trying to solve. And the traditional ways of solving that problem may not be the same ones to apply in this brave new world. It's super exciting, and I mean you can see it's an exponential curve in capabilities. I think being AI agnostic or LLM agnostic will be crucial. I mean, if somebody in government, let's say, says this LLM is no longer allowed due to national security risks, you don't want to put all of your capabilities on that particular platform. So you need be careful before you sort of lock hands with any particular provider. The risk management for your company needs to be agnostic. But but there are risks, and you need people who understand the business, who understand the risks of the technologies as well, in order to provide a safe, productive environment for the future.
Thank you. Amir, your last statement.
I mean, we talked about most of this stuff, but just as a closing statement, I think that the kind of the most successful AI projects aren't about replacing expertise. I think that's super important for everyone to recognize. I think AI is there to remove administrative burden that prevents those expertise being fully utilized. I think that's kind of super important for people to get, because they think it's about FTE reduction or about cost reduction. Is actually those people could do some more productive work. And I think that future competitive advantage won't come from having most of the AIs, which we talked about. It will come from having the most efficient AI. And that's the big topic right now in every single enterprise, to how to actually get the most out of it from ROI point of view.
Thank you. And finally, Karan.
Thanks, Irina. Yeah, I think interesting viewpoints. I think a lot of what we are doing in the organization is kind of being validated with the fact that looks like we're facing and solving similar problems. But I'll possibly close with this. So when the legacy systems arrived, there was a lot of hesitance in moving from paperwork to actually record keeping systems. Uh, a lot of that was a lot of the skepticism then was valid. Now that AI is here, I'm sure there's skepticism, but AI is here to stay, and it's going to carve its path. It's going to solve the problems that we discussed about, and it's already doing that. Uh, when I think when legacy systems came in last say 20 years back, it did transform the industry, and I think we are at that inflection point with AI now, where apart from being accurate and in record keeping and being structured in processes, now the next leap forward would be to transform from accuracy to efficiency, right? And that's what AI is going to bring in, and it does have the potential really to reverse the overall margin compression. I believe that this is the industry has been seeing for the last, I would say, couple of decades. So I don't think we've seen a technology in the last 20 years that had the capability to do that. AI definitely does. So that's very, very promising and very exciting.
Oh, thank you very much for a very interesting discussion. Thank you for watching this podcast. Please like and share it. This will help us.